Welcome back to the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. I'm Joe Noga, joined by Paul Hoynes. Hoynesy, the Guardians dropped the series opener in Chicago at Wrigley Field. Matthew Boyd coming out and really sticking it to the team that gave him the chance to come back from his elbow surgery, and he went to the American League Championship Series last year. I know Stephen Vogt was effusive in his praise of Matthew Boyd before the game. What was he like after the game?
Yeah, he said the same thing. He complimented Boyd, said it was classic Matthew Boyd. He read the Guardian swings really well. Just threw all his pitches, hit his spots. Yeah, he had nothing but good things to say about Boyd, and Boyd had nothing but good things to say about the Guardians. He said, "I've got nothing but love for those guys," and that's easy to say after you beat a team 5-2 for your eighth win of the season.
Yeah, the Cubs were willing to go out and give him a 2-year contract, pay him $14 million a year, I think, something like that.
Yeah, close to $30 million a year for the 2-year deal.
Yeah, so just he's thriving in Chicago, and the Guardians pitching isn't the problem, but hitting was. Again, they couldn't solve a left-handed starter. 7-17 against lefty starters this year?
Yeah, 7-17, and just a complete reversal from last year when it seemed like they finally had figured out the left-handed pitcher, how to beat the left-handed starter, and they've gone back to square one now, Joe.
Yeah, and like we said, pitching not the issue. Gavin Williams goes out there, has one or two innings where he maybe struggles with his command a little bit, but for the most part, that was the kind of outing where you would expect to be able to turn things over to the bullpen and try to get a win.
Yeah, Gavin had the one bad inning. The second inning gives up 3 runs, then pitches into the sixth, gives up a solo home run. He's down 5-2, but the offense just was again stagnant. They've scored in only 2 of their last 45 innings, Joe. I mean, this is brutal to watch.
Yeah, it's getting really difficult, and as they get deeper into this, I think the drum beating for Chase DeLauter, for CJ Kifus to be added to the roster to try and make a difference in some way. If they're not going to do something external before the trade deadline, that's going to continue. We're going to continue to hear that, but this would be the same podcast over and over again if we sat here and dwelled on Chase DeLauter, if we dwelled on CJ Kifus. Let's take a look at that second inning from Gavin Williams, though, because it was unusual. It was just sort of think about Alexander and the No Good, Very Bad, Rotten Day, or whatever that children's book is. This was the unusual inning for Gavin Williams. Pete Crow Armstrong single, Dansby Swanson single, Michael Busch single, and Carson Kelly doubles, and all of a sudden it's 3-0, and there's kind of weird. The Guardians get out of the inning without recording basically an out by a batter.
Yeah, it was. This is the first time, at least by the research from the Cubs in the post-game notes, that this has happened to Cleveland, a Cleveland ball club, since at least 1920. And it was weird. I mean, how many times do you see a pitcher actually tag out a player at the plate, after throwing a pitch that gets past the catcher? It never happens. No. But, this everything kind of came together. Gavin threw a pitch that got past Bo Naylor. It hit off the brick or stone backstop at Wrigley Field, bounced back to Bo Naylor. Naylor made a good throw back to the plate, and Gavin just tagged Carson Kelly. Gavin was still stunned by it after the game. To the game, he just said, "That's never happened to me in my big league career." He said he didn't even know where to set up. He said, "I was just trying to go to the backside of the plate."
Well, yeah, and the he gets out of the inning. After Nico Horner walks, he picks Nico Horner off at first, and then he walks Matt Shaw and picks Matt Shaw off at first. 2 pickoffs in an inning. I think that's the first time for a Cleveland pitcher since 1985, something like that.
It was the first time they've had 3 outs in one inning without a batter being involved since, I think, in the big league since 1985. That might have been there was a National League game, Pittsburgh and the Phillies, I believe.
Yeah, so just a crazy sort of, and it doesn't really typify his efforts over the last, several starts. He's been pretty good. It's that one inning where he maybe loses a little bit of command and either gives up a few runs or, gets a little wild. It used to be that he couldn't get deep into games after that. Now he's figuring out a way to lock back in and get himself deep into games, and that's been helpful, at least, for Cleveland's bullpen.
Yeah, that was encouraging. I know he walked off the mound. He said, he goes, "What just happened?" So after getting those 3 outs, and Bo said, Bo Naylor said that really Gavin has just been getting better and better as the season has gone along. He's getting more and more confident and add more and more stuff to his delivery. More and more, I should say, changes. And of course, he's added the cutter and the slider.
Yeah, it's Gavin's ability to, or an openness to making adjustments and making changes. A lot of pitchers, when they get to maybe a certain point in the season or a certain point in their preparation for the season, sort of lock in and say, okay, this is the way that I'm going to operate this year. This is my delivery. And Gavin's been willing to tinker in mid-season. That speaks well of the pitching group, the pitching staff that he has around him. But it's a credit to him just to be willing to risk that.
Yeah, you don't find many guys. Well, I guess, pitchers are always tinkering, but they tinker on the side. They tinker on the bullpen. They rarely bring it into the game, unless they've had a whole full season, off season to work on it. But, Williams has kind of gone against the grain then in that regard, and it's helped them.
Yeah, I think Aaron Savali was one guy who would always be willing to tinker and bring things into the game and work on them on the mound as well. So just really encouraging signs out of Gavin Williams, despite the loss, despite the performance of the team in the 5-2 series opening loss to the Cubs. Just give us a feeling of Wrigley Field, what the environment was like when the Cubs are winning. That's one of the best places to go see a game in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's loud. There's a lot of history here. The place was packed. They're singing that Cubs song after they win. You're trying to get
Come
down to
on
the
now,
lock.
you're humming "Go Cubs Go" in your head after the game on your way down to the post game, right? You can't help it.
And you can't get to the locker room. I got stuck on a ramp. I missed vote. I mean, you're running. It's like you got to run a marathon just to get to the locker room. It was insane, but it was just like the World Series in 2016. I like Wrigley Field. I like the feel of it, but I hate getting down to the post game where you're trying to get to the locker room, because if you're a minute late, man, you're done. It's like being caught in a traffic jam around Dead Man's Curve in Cleveland.
I'm sure Stephen Vogt didn't give you a hard time at all once you walked up after missing the post game interview. That was that's pretty tough. Don't worry, Hoynes, you're not the only one. I think he did that to me in Seattle the day they had the walk off, the night they had the walk off. So yeah, it's not a very reporter friendly environment. The press box is kind of cramped, and like you said, those ramps it's give me a ballpark that gives you an elevator to get down to where you need to be after the game and do your job. That's
Yeah, Kansas City. Kansas
yeah.
City, that's the ideal situation.
You walk out of the press box onto an elevator, and you're there 2 steps. You're in the clubhouse after the game, so never a problem. All right, Hoynesy, today is the final day for the All-Star voting. Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez. It's phase 2 of the voting, where it's head-to-head by position for the different spots going to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. Ramirez competing against Alex Bregman at third base to start for the American League. Stephen Kwan, one of 4 other competitors in the outfield, looking to join Aaron Judge, Javi Baez, Riley Green, Mike Trout among the others competing for that position. So I want to go through and basically run through the ballot here and just we can each fill it out for ourselves and tell me who you would pick for head to head at each spot here. All right, starting at first base for the American League, you got Vladimir Guerrero or Paul Goldschmidt. Who you taking, Hoynesy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Goldschmidt. I think I like Vlad, but he's younger. He's going to have a lot of chances to get to the All-Star game. I think he's made it 5 or straight years almost. Goldschmidt's probably on the downside of his career, so I'll go with Goldschmidt in this regard.
I'm going with Vladdy Guerrero just because it sets up an opportunity for probably not, But in my dream scenario, Emmanuel Clase is on the mound in the All-Star game, and he gets to hit Vladimir Guerrero in retaliation for hitting Jose Ramirez. In retaliation for hitting Vlad Guerrero. So we'll just keep things going. And I would, if I were Emmanuel Clase, I would hit Vladimir Guerrero in the backside as Stephen Vogt wants him to, and then stare at John Schneider the entire time. Base for the National League. Tough one. Pete Alonso's having a hell of a year, but Freddie Freeman is just awesome. So who are you going with there?
Yeah, I might go with the polar bear, I think. Just, I really like him. I like to watch him play. And, Freddie had his moment in a World Series.
Yeah, if you've got a great nickname, then Hoynes going to vote for you. If all things are equal, then the nickname wins out for Hoynes, that's for sure. Second base, I think, is kind of easy in the American League. Jackson Holliday of the Orioles and Gleyber Torres of the Tigers. Really, one of the reasons why the Tigers have had a big turnaround this year has been Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, I like Torres. I'll forgive him for rocking the baby at second base last out of the what was that, the ALDS a couple of years ago when against Cleveland, and yeah, Torres, because I think Holiday is going to have a lot of chances, just like Vlad. This might be Torres' only shot at the All-Star game.
Second base in the National League, Tommy Edman of the Dodgers or Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks, 296 average and an 893 OPS for Marte. He's my pick.
Yeah, he's my pick too. Really underrated player, Joe. You just don't hear enough about him, but really, really a good player.
I think we can all agree. We're both going with Jose Ramirez at third base. Alex Bregman is still on the IL. I don't know, or if he might be back or not, but it doesn't matter to me. Jose Ramirez is still a guy at third base.
Yeah, Bregman, I think, is still on the IL, Joe.
Yep.
And Jose definitely gets my vote. Joe, I think, I think right now he might be hurt a little bit with that forearm. He hasn't swung the bat since he's come back. Hasn't swung the bat well since he's come back after getting drilled against Toronto.
Yeah. Third base for the National League, Manny Machado or Max Muncy. Max Muncy always seems to kill the Guardians when he plays them, but Manny Machado, I think, right here has the overall body of work.
Yeah, Manny Machado's my choice too.
Shortstop in the American League. This is interesting. Jacob Wilson, the rookie in with the Athletics, was actually leading the vote over Bobby Witt Jr., who was second in the American League in the MVP last year. What do you think? Who do you think gets the nod? Who would you pick, and who do you think is going to start in the game?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You think when you think of the All-Star game, you think of star power, and Witt definitely has that. I just like watching him play, so he would probably get my vote.
Hey, let's go for chaos. Let's go for Jacob Wilson starting. I'll vote for Jacob Wilson. You pick Bobby Witt. In the National League at shortstop, this is the one. This is the pick. Mookie Betts, won a World Series last year. Francisco Lindor, they beat the Mets to get to the World Series, and Lindor's the man in with the Mets now. Who are you taking between Mookie Betts and Francisco Lindor?
And Lindor's been shut out of the All-Star game for a few years, right?
Yeah, not since like maybe 2019.
Yeah, I'm going with Francisco here. I'm going with Lindor.
Okay. Yeah, I you know what? All things being equal, when I think of shortstops, the first name that pops to my mind is Omar Vizquel. The second name that pops into mind is Francisco Lindor. Frankie did so much in his time in Cleveland to make us sort of appreciate what a good shortstop means defensively and at the plate. I think he deserves it. Catcher in the American League, Cal Raleigh is definitely in. I mean, he's 33 home runs, 71 RBIs, 1024 OPS. If you're voting and you don't vote for Cal Raleigh at catcher, you're fooling yourself. But Alejandro Kirk, and we just saw him come through Cleveland. He's having an incredible season for a catcher. 306 average, 7 home runs, 39 RBIs, and he doesn't look like your typical all-star baseball player catcher. He looks like a guy who should be driving a garbage truck somewhere. I seriously, he's got that kind of body. Alejandro Kirk or Cal Raleigh, who are you picking?
I'm going with Raleigh, Joe. I'm going with the big dumper.
Okay, Hoynes and the big dumper. We're good. Carson Kelly, Will Smith, catcher in the National League.
Boy, Will Smith, I think he's kind of epitomizes to me what you want in a catcher. Good defense, good offense.
Yeah, 320 batting average. I think Will Smith gets it there. All right, that takes us to the outfield in the American League. Your choices remaining are, since Aaron Judge is automatically in being the number one overall vote getter, your choices are Stephen Kwan, Mike Trout, Javi Baez, Riley Green. You've got to pick two. Two of those guys are going to get in.
That's a tough one for me. I'm going with Quan and Riley Green.
I can't argue with that based on the productivity and just what defensively you get with Quan. I think is also a big thing there. And lineup wise, if I'm Aaron Boone, I want to put Stephen Kwan at the top of my lineup. But I have a feeling Mike Trout has the name recognition, has the staying power. I think Mike Trout and Riley Green are going to be the ones that get in. It makes me kind of uneasy to see Javi Baez as an option there, because to me, if you failed at shortstop, then you shouldn't be rewarded by being an all-star in the outfield. To me, that just doesn't make sense. Okay, so Kwan and Riley Green, I think Trout will get in, though. In the National League, you've got to pick three out of these six. Ronald Acuna, Pete Crow Armstrong, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Juan Soto, and Kyle Tucker.
What are those guys again? Who are those guys?
Ronald Acuna, Pete Crow Armstrong, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, and Juan Soto, and Kyle Tucker.
And we've got to pick three?
You got to pick three.
Okay, I'm going with Crow Armstrong, Pages,
yes.
Pages, and Teoscar Hernandez. I like him.
Yeah, those are three pretty good picks. Acuna, I don't think has enough of a sample size. I think because he was coming off the injury.
Yeah,
but being the hometown guy, being
that's
announced,
true.
he's already announced as one of the home run derby participants. So I think we'll talk about that next. But I think I'm going to go Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, and Teoscar Hernandez as my starters. I think we both agree that Juan Soto, even though he's got 20 home runs and 47 RBIs, hasn't really been the $700 million guy that the Mets have expected. The last pick, since Ohtani's already in as the National League DH, you've got to pick between, and these are exciting choices, Ryan O'Hearn from the Baltimore Orioles at designated hitter, or Ben Rice of the New York Yankees. How does Ben Rice make it in there, batting .229? Ryan O'Hearn or Ben Rice, I guess one of them has to make it as the starter, so pick one.
I'll go with Ryan O'Hearn. I really like this guy. He was a big, got a big name in Kansas City, was supposed to be part of their rebuilding. It didn't work out. He ended up in Baltimore and really has resurrected his career. He's become a dangerous hitter, a guy that can drive the ball. So I'm going with O'Hearn.
Okay. Now with the All-Star, once the All-Star starters are selected and we know who's definitely going to be there, that's when all the speculation is going to start for who's going to compete in the home run derby. We already have two participants pretty much locked up. I said Ronald Acuna is going to be there. I mean, he's just basically got to roll out of bed and show up because it's in his home ballpark. Cal Raleigh, the major league leader in home runs right now, is confirmed as in. Shohei Ohtani has indicated to reporters that he would likely not participate. He's just starting to sort of pitch right now, and I think with all that's going on with him, probably a good choice there. Ellie De La Cruz has flat out already declined an invitation to participate. He will more than likely be there at the All-Star game, but won't be participating. So that leads me to the question, who's your dream field? I need 6 more names, and I know it might be hard to get to 6. I've got 6 here that I sort of sketched out, but give me your dream field to fill out the remaining 6 spots for the All-Star Home Run Derby coming up in Atlanta.
Yeah, Judge is one, I would think. I put Judge in there. And I put Junior Caminero in there, the one that got away. 21 home runs.
You just want to torture Chris Antonetti, don't you?
And you don't have to be an all-star, right? I don't think
you don't.
to be.
No, you don't.
And there's a kid in Washington, James Wood, that we saw.
He's
got
on
a
my
good
list
look at him.
Sure.
Eugenio Suarez having a big power year, and a guy we saw last night hit a home run. Suzuki.
Seiya Suzuki. Yeah, I think if you can't have Ohtani, then Seiya Suzuki would be a great choice. One of the major league leaders in home runs, definitely a guy like that. I went with a little bit of throwback there. I want to see Kyle Schwarber. I just think he's exciting. I would be a good choice for it. Judge, I don't know if he's even competed since he won it in 2017. Since 2017, Aaron Judge, 2018, Bryce Harper, 2019, Pete Alonso, 2021, Pete Alonso. That was like a run of American players winning the Derby. Then 2022, Juan Soto, 23, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and last year, Teoscar Hernandez. That's three straight Dominican,
Yeah.
sluggers that have won. So yeah, it would be interesting to see Schwarber, Pete Alonso if he wanted to come back, Eugenio Suarez as well. But I want Riley Green to compete in the home run derby because if the lore and the mysticism around the home run derby is true, then you go out there, your big home run hitter gets tired and fizzles out in the second half of the year, and maybe Riley Green overswings too much and gets tired and can't hit any home runs for the remainder of the year for the Tigers if he competes in the home run derby. So the Guardians can take advantage of that. So I want Riley Green in the field. I do not want Jose Ramirez to compete, whether he's injured like you're showing signs of after being hit by the pitch by the Blue Jays or not. I think he gave it the old college try last year when he was healthy, and the home run derby just doesn't seem like it's a competition for him.
Well, yeah, let's hope Jose got his taste of it. And what was that, his second one?
It was his second one. Yeah, the first one he competed in was, I believe, 2023 when he had the thumb injury
Bad
that
thumb,
he had
right?
to have
Yeah.
offseason surgery for. So yeah, if Jose can avoid the home run derby, that would be outstanding. All right, Hoynes, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. Yeah, we're a podcast. We will check back in with you again tomorrow after Game 2 of the series between the Guardians and the Cubs. We'll talk to you then.
Good deal.